You ever wonder how the biggest feats in farming could come from some of the smallest machines? Well, in this video, we're going to count down 10 of the smallest combine harvesters that you didn't even know about. These mini giants played a huge part in shaping American agriculture through the 1900s, and we'll relive that nostalgic era by exploring their defining features and historic impact. These compact harvesters pack more punch than you'd ever expect. Number 10, the Chalmers AllCrop 60. From the moment it rolled out in 1935, the AllCrop 60 became a saving grace for countless smaller farms across the U.S. While massive machines dominated the industrial agriculture scene, this compact pull-type combine offered a practical solution for farm owners who couldn't justify the cost or storage space of a full-sized harvester. Now, according to historical resources like Farm Collector and Tractor Data, Chalmers sold over 300,000 units of the AllCrop line in its heyday, a testament to its popularity and reliability. At its core, the AllCrop 60 was all about efficiency. It featured a 60-inch cut width, hence the 60 in its name, designed to harvest a wide range of crops: wheat, oats, barley, clover, beans, and even certain grass seeds. This versatility made it a natural fit for diversified farms. Powered by a tractor via the power takeoff, the AllCrop 60 boasted a straightforward mechanism. It sliced the crop, threshed it inside, separated the grain from the chaff, and deposited clean grain into the small bin or bagger attachment. Now, Chalmers targeted the needs of smaller American operators that wanted to improve yields without breaking the bank. The relative affordability allowed family-owned farms to mechanize efficiently, reducing manual labor and harvest time. Culturally, it helped bridge the gap between labor-intensive, horse-drawn operations and the modern tractor era of farming, assuring longtime farmers that not all progressive technology had to be colossal or complicated. Vintage farming enthusiasts today consider the AllCrop 60 a collector's item, and many local shows across the Midwest still feature working demonstrations to remind everyone of its timeless ingenuity. Number 9, the John Deere Model 12A. Now, when people think John Deere, enormous green machines come to mind, but rewind to the late 30s and you'll find the Model 12A, a compact pull-type combine that demonstrated John Deere's commitment to farmers of all sizes. Launched in 1939 and in production until 1952, this little workhorse was a common sight on smaller American fields. The 12A typically came with a 6-foot or even 7-foot header, making it smaller than the brand's modern offerings. It relied on a tractor's PTO shaft for power, and its simple, robust design made it easy to maintain. Farmers could choose a sacking platform or optional grain bin, catering to personal preference and storage capabilities. Despite its size, the 12A efficiently combined the cutting, threshing, and separation process into one reliable operation. Historical documents from Green Magazine and John Deere archives point to the 12A as a game-changer for modest farms that were seeking modern mechanization. By providing an affordable, smaller combine, John Deere positioned itself as a brand that listened to feedback from everyday farming communities. This machine was known for its ease of repair, too. Spare parts were abundant, and the straightforward belt and pulley system allowed farmers to do much of the maintenance themselves. Nothing beats seeing a restored 12A humming along at an antique machinery festival. It's a callback to a time when efficiency and affordability were just as essential as they are now, though perhaps approached with more elbow grease. Older folks often recall the Model 12A as their first serious upgrade from labor-intensive hand-binding methods, marking a shift toward more consistent yields and less back-breaking fieldwork. If you ever come across a vintage John Deere 12A, you're essentially looking at a piece of farming history that helped shape the modern era of mechanized harvesting. Number 8, the McCormick Deering No. 62 Combine. The McCormick Deering line, produced under International Harvester, or IH, has a storied place in American agricultural development. One of their most notable small-scale heroes was the No. 62 Combine, introduced in the late 30s to address the needs of smaller farms that wanted something reliable yet unassuming in size. The No. 62 was a pull-type combine, equipped with a relatively modest header width, usually around 5 to 6 feet. Powered by the towing tractor's PTO, it combined cutting, threshing, and separating into a single pass. Farmers across the Midwest favored this model for cereals like wheat, oats, and barley, but also for seed crops. Its built-in straw spreader or optional straw chopper simplified field residue management, reducing extra trips across the field. And one of the largest selling points was reliability. McCormick Deering constructed the No. 62 with sturdy steel parts that could endure prolonged use. Belt drives ran most of the mechanisms, which, while simpler than complex gear systems, required farmers to keep belts in good condition. Many owners appreciated how easy it was to disassemble and clean. important when switching between different crops or preparing the combine for winter storage. International Harvester was already a household name. Revered for revolutionizing farming machinery. Bringing out a smaller combine fit neatly with their vision of ensuring that farms of varying sizes could mechanize. During an era when many still used horse-drawn binders, the number 62 offered a leap into modernity without the gargantuan financial and spatial requirements of larger IH combines. From a nostalgia perspective, the number 62 resonates with folks who remember the hum of the PTO and the thrill of processing entire rows in one pass. It brought the idea of harvesting independence closer to smaller operations, ensuring that even modest acreage could benefit from increased productivity and reduced manual labor. Number 7, the Gleaner Model A, or the Baldwin Gleaner. Before Gleaner became synonymous with Allis Chalmers, it was the Baldwin brothers who pioneered the brand. The Model A, introduced in the 30s, represents the roots of Gleaner's storied history. Though subsequent models would grow in size and capacity, the Model A stands out for its compact design and forward-thinking engineering. Now, unlike many other combines of its era, the Gleaner Model A incorporated an auger-based grain handling system, which was somewhat ahead of its time. It used a rattle, which was a conveyor of sorts, and a cleaning fan to separate grain from straw more efficiently. Documentation from AGCO Historical Archives praises the Gleaner A for its effective threshing mechanism, which resulted in higher grain retention and lower crop loss. No small feat in the 1930s. And this pull-type combine suited small to medium-sized fields, featuring a header that ranged around 6 feet. Its relatively lightweight build made it easier to tow, even with tractors that weren't high-horsepower monsters. That said, you still needed a tractor with a live PTO to get the most out of it, as the combine's internal components relied on consistent power flow. The Gleaner name eventually became synonymous with self-propelled combines, especially after Allis Chalmers bought the brand in 1955. Yet the Model A success laid the groundwork for Gleaner's reputation for building user-friendly machines with efficient grain separation. Now, enthusiasts still restore them for vintage shows, reminding everyone of that pivotal stage in harvester evolution. In terms of culture, the Baldwin Gleaner A was a beacon of progress for farmers wanting to step into modern mechanization without investing a fortune. It captures a moment in American farming when robust small-scale equipment was making a real difference, proof that bigger, it's not always better when it comes to practical design and affordability. Number 6, the Massie Harris Clipper. Now, when discussing old-school combines, you just can't overlook Massie Harris, a Canadian company with strong ties to the U.S. as well, especially after merging with Ferguson in later years to form Massey Ferguson. Now, one of their most noted smaller machines was the Massie Harris Clipper, introduced in the late 30s. Despite its Canadian roots, it still found a home on many American farms looking to streamline their harvest without investing in colossal machinery. Now, the Clipper was a pull-type combine, sporting a header width generally around 6 feet. Although this might seem small compared to modern standards, it was groundbreaking for its era, particularly for mixed farms that harvested different crops. Massie Harris specifically designed the Clipper to handle a variety of grains, including wheat and oats, and even certain types of grasses and legumes. One hallmark of the Clipper was its simple belt and chain-driven threshing system that made maintenance tasks relatively straightforward. Most farmers could replace worn parts or adjust tension without specialized tools. An integrated straw spreader or optional straw chopper aided in returning organic matter to the field, a practice that would become increasingly important in sustainable farming discussions decades later. Now, for smaller operations, owning a Massie Harris Clipper symbolized progress toward independence. Instead of relying on custom operators or neighbors with bigger machines, you could tackle harvest on your own schedule. This sense of autonomy helped shape a generation of farm families who had more control over when and how they brought in the crop. References in Massie collectors and other historical clubs highlight how proud owners were of the machine's manageable size and versatility. Even as Massie Harris evolved into the Massey Ferguson brand, the Clipper's legacy endured, remembered fondly for bridging the gap between horse-drawn binders and large-scale combines. Number 5, the Oliver Model 15 Combine. Next on the list is the Oliver Model 15, a small pull-type combine that traces its lineage back to the Oliver Farm Equipment Company, a major player formed by the merger of 4 companies in 1929. The Model 15 emerged in the 1940s, filling the need of farmers seeking an efficient yet compact harvesting solution. Oliver approached the design with practicality in mind. The Model 15 was easy to hook up to most tractors of the day, requiring moderate horsepower. A typical header width covered around 5 to 6 feet, making it perfect for smaller fields where maneuverability was crucial. The machine employed a canvas draper system to convey cut crops into a threshing chamber, common in that era before widespread adoption of full auger heads. One of Oliver's claims to fame have always been sturdy construction, and the Model 15 held true to that legacy. It used strong steel frames, simple gearboxes, and belts that were easily sourced or repaired. Now, farmers often praised how accessible the combine's internal components were, a big bonus when a mid-season breakdown threatened to delay harvest. According to sources like Farm Collector and various Oliver antique clubs, spare parts remained available longer than those for some competing models, which contributed to the Model 15's loyal following. Much like its peers, the Oliver Model 15 became a steadfast companion on countless mid-century American farms. It represented a period when mechanization was rapidly expanding, but not to the point of excluding the little guy. Families who ran these machines often recount the relief that it provided: less hand labor, more consistent yields, and the pride of owning dependable equipment. Even though the Oliver brand eventually merged into white farm equipment, collectors still cherish surviving Model 15 combines, seeing them as both a piece of engineering history and a tangible memory of rural life in the mid-1900s. Number 4, the Grain Goat. Coming in at number 4 is a uniquely compact solution known as the Grain Goat, a pint-sized harvester that first appeared in the late 1980s. Now, while it diverges from classic tractor-pulled designs, it still carved out its own niche in American farming, particularly on research plots and specialized small acreage operations. While many small combines of the 1900s were simply scaled-down versions of bigger pull-type rigs, the Grain Goat took things even further by offering a walk-behind or handheld mechanism. Now, according to various farm show archives and agricultural research bulletins, its design allowed users to harvest grain in tight spaces and test plots without needing a fully equipped tractor or large machine. This made it perfect for universities and seed companies running experiments on select varieties of wheat, barley, or specialized grains. Now, at its core, the Grain Goat combined cutting, threshing, and basic cleaning functions into one small unit powered by a modest gas engine. Operators would often strap on a bag or small hopper to catch the grain, eliminating the need for a separate grain cart or bin. Now, despite its size, the Grain Goat was surprisingly efficient at capturing clean samples, boasting minimal shatter losses, an essential quality for anyone hoping to preserve every kernel for research or seed production. Now, while not a household name on large-scale commercial farms, the Grain Goat became a cult favorite among niche growers and test pilot managers in the U.S. Thanks to its portability, it gave small-scale farmers a gateway into mechanical harvesting without incurring the heavy loss of standard combines. It also sparked interest among those who simply wanted to experiment with different grains on small tracts of land. Even though you won't see it dominating thousands of acres in the Midwest, the Grain Goat's legacy, well, it endures as an example of how thinking small could yield a big advantage in specialized corners of American agriculture. Number 3, the Case A6 Combine. Now, introduced around 1939, the Case A6 is another pull-type staple that graced American fields through the 1940s and beyond. Now, J.I. Case had a strong background in threshing machines, so shifting to combines felt like a natural progression. The A6 featured a 6-foot header and robust design intended to endure rigorous harvest conditions. Although smaller in stature compared to some of Case's later models, it stuck to the essentials: cut the crop, feed it through the threshing drum, and separate the grain from straw, of course then collecting it in a holding bin or sack. This no-frills approach made it approachable for farmers who valued simplicity over complexity. One of the A6's selling points was its relatively low power requirement. A modestly sized tractor could manage it with ease. The combine's inner workings relied on a network of belts and pulleys, with tensioners that were straightforward to adjust for wear and tear. Now, owners often praised how easy it was to switch from one crop to another by swapping out screens or making minor tweaks to cylinder speed and concave spacing. Case is an American icon in agricultural equipment, particularly known for pioneering steam engines and later gas tractors. The A6 served as a practical option for farmers that wanted a reputable brand without the massive size or cost of a top-tier combine. By offering an A6, Case reinforced the idea that smaller acreage deserved efficient harvesting solutions as well. Now, in terms of nostalgia, longtime farmers and collectors remember the Case A6 for its characteristic color scheme, often a shade of flambeau red, and the sound of its belts running in unison with the tractor engine. It recalled a period when farmers began modernizing at a comfortable pace, each new machine representing a step toward better yields and less manual drudgery. Number 2, the New Holland 975. Now, while New Holland is best recognized today for large modern combines, its history with smaller units is equally notable. Launched in the 1960s, the New Holland 975 was a self-propelled combine designed to cater to mid-size and even smaller operators looking for a reliable, compact machine. Unlike many on this list, the 975 wasn't a pull type. It had its own engine, often rated around 85 horsepower, depending on the engine variant, and a header width that could range from 10 to 13 feet. Though that might sound bigger than the pull types we've discussed, in the world of self-propelled combines, the 975 was relatively small. This made it maneuverable in tighter fields, especially in regions when farmland was divided into smaller plots. The 975's design incorporated New Holland's expertise in hay and forage equipment, focusing on reduced crop loss and efficient straw management. It boasted a conventional cylinder and walker system, standard for that era, allowing thorough separation of grain from the straw. Now, operators appreciated the relative comfort of a dedicated driver station with improved visibility. Now, major perks when you consider the cramped nature of some of the early self-propelled models. Originally rooted in Pennsylvania, New Holland's equipment spread nationwide, and the 975 found a home on numerous American farms, all of which needing a dependable, smaller self-propelled combine for grains and soybeans. Over time, as land consolidation grew, many 975s were sold off for a bigger model. However, they remain cherished by collectors and by smaller farming operations that still exist, especially in some pockets of the Midwest. Now, with the 975, New Holland proved that it could play in the self-propelled arena without forcing farmers into oversized machinery. Now, it symbolizes the transitional phase in agricultural technology, advanced enough to free operators from tractor-pulled implements, yet modest enough to handle smaller acreages efficiently. And number 1, the Klauss Columbus. Rounding out our countdown is a European creation that still found its way into some American fields, especially among immigrant communities familiar with the Klauss brand. The Klauss Columbus, introduced in the 1950s. Now, while Klauss is headquartered in Germany, its footprint gradually expanded into North America, with certain models imported or adapted for American farming. The Columbus was remarkably compact, with a cutting width around 6 feet, on par with smaller pull types, but built as a self-propelled unit in some variants. This design made it a perfect fit for farmers that were dealing with a smaller field, uneven terrain, or even specialized crops. Klauss focused on reliability in all aspects. From the cutting table to the threshing system, it ensured minimal grain loss. The brand's reputation for innovative engineering, which later led to world-renowned combines like the Dominator and Lexion series, found its roots in these early machines. A key characteristic was the straw walker, designed to gently separate grain from the straw. Now, the Columbus typically employed a well-calibrated airflow system that improved cleaning, producing higher quality grain. In parts of the U.S. where small grains were grown in smaller plots, think specialty barley or organic grain operations, the Columbus really shone. It required less horsepower than large American-built self-propelled machines, lowering fuel costs and making ownership much more feasible. Owners who immigrated from Europe, or those who had ties to European farming traditions, often introduced the Columbus to local communities. This cross-pollination brought a dose of international innovation to mid-century American agriculture. Even though Klauss machines weren't as ubiquitous as John Deere or IH in the States, they still left a lasting impression on those who used them. Many vintage farm equipment enthusiasts highlight the Columbus as a testament to that idea that small but mighty can hold its own against bigger behemoths. It's amazing how these smaller combines, like the AllCrop 60, the John Deere 12A, IH 62, and beyond, all allowed family farms to modernize at their own pace, cutting costs and saving labor without needing massive fields. Each of these machines forged a legacy that's still cherished by collectors and nostalgic farmers alike. Hey, we hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful in sparking a bit of that good old-fashioned farming spirit. And if you enjoyed this stroll down memory lane, consider subscribing to the channel for more equipment throwbacks, technical breakdowns, and trustworthy tips. Thanks for watching, and happy harvesting.